On this week's episode of Stop the Threat, we will show a reenactment with a female jogger. She was alone and chose to leave the public jogging path. This decision would prove to be a mistake when a stalker attempts to assault and rape her. Join me and our panel of experts as we analyze this crime taken from recent headlines, coming up next on the American Trigger Sports Network. Hello shooters, my name is James Towle and this is Stop the Threat. In this series we reach out to the headlines around the country and reenact some of the most heinous crimes committed in our cities and towns. These crimes are committed every day to law-abiding citizens in the course of their daily lives. Having a plan and basic training can prevent you from being the next victim. On today's episode we will reenact a crime we read about all too often. A female jogger has left the public area and has become vulnerable to assault by a would-be rapist. With a panel of experts chosen from law enforcement and the shooting community, we will analyze the incident step by step and offer you real suggestions on how not to become a victim. I warn you that what you're about to see is graphic, violent, and designed for mature audiences. Hello shooters, Suzanna Hupp joins our panel today. She is the author of a new book on the tragedy she experienced in 1991 when her mother and father, along with 22 others, were killed by a lone madman while they were having lunch. Suzanna turned that tragedy into a national debate over gun ownership. She was elected to the Texas state legislature and single-handedly became the driving force behind the current laws in Texas allowing law-abiding citizens to carry handguns for self-defense. Also joining the panel today, Josh Duhon, instructor and class coordinator of Texas Pistol and Rifle Academy, servicing civilian shooters. Josh now has been able to fulfill his dream by helping returning veterans by producing a movie which points out the problems veterans are having returning to civilian life. And Mark Walters, who co-authored with Kathy Jackson a book entitled Lessons from Armed America, is also better known as the King of Armed American Radio, the fastest growing radio show dealing with your Second Amendment rights, as well as a regular contributor to Trigger Sports Live, which can be seen 24/7 on your computer at ATSN.TV. Hey, thank you all for being here. Now let me ask you this question. How many times have you, over the past few years, picked up the paper and read about a jogger being raped in a public park and were shocked, as I am, that something like that could happen in such a public place? We've created a reenactment of such a crime taken directly from the headlines of the Houston Chronicle. We'll take a look when we come back and discuss the incident.
Quiet, lady. Don't get hurt.
Okay, Susanna, we're going to start with you. What's the first couple of things that you may have noticed there?
Creepy. That's the first thing that comes to mind. You know, I think it's important to remember that there are predators all around us, and it's something I try to teach my children without making them paranoid. But predators look for easy prey. And I think it's unfortunate that she made herself an easy target in a lot of different ways.
She did. Name me one.
Right off the bat, I look at her, she's out there by herself in a fairly deserted area, and she's got her earphones on.
Well, she was on a path. She was on a path, and that was where she should have remained. If she's going to jog alone, then stay on the path. Stay in the areas where there is population.
If we were illustrating this video or using it as an illustration for our civilian clientele, the first thing that we would use this video to illustrate is somebody who's operating in an environment in what we would call awareness level white, which is they're completely oblivious to their surroundings and what's going on. The second thing that we would point out is, you know, we all hear today about how we want hands-free devices in our car. You know, you're not supposed to be on the phone. The same thing applies here. You would not catch me running through the park without the use of my hands. This woman doesn't have the use of her hands. If she had had the use of her hands, she could have gone to a delivery system or a response, but because she's playing that iPhone,
she's jacking around
the
with
combination of not being able to hear anything and not having the use of your hands is it's a double-edged sword that leads to disaster.
You know, maybe I could live with that if she stayed on the path. If she was with somebody, there were other joggers around, there were witnesses in the air. I mean, not witnesses,
there's nobody
but
else
there were
in the
other
park,
people in the air, but she was alone.
There's nobody else in the park.
But this stuff happens in parking lots, too.
All the
I mean,
time.
you know,
Happens
you've got to be aware of your surroundings.
Well,
and I think
preparation,
that's the
avoidance, and awareness techniques are what you're talking about here. And Josh brought up a number of good points, as did you. But start off at the beginning of the tape. When she's walking or jogging through the park, the first thing that you'll notice is that her eyes are buried on the device. It's not just that her hands aren't free, it's that her eyes are buried on the device. She is absolutely, completely oblivious to the surroundings around her. She doesn't see a shadow. She doesn't see anybody come from behind the tree. Now, I'm not saying, and I don't think anybody here on the panel is suggesting, that we need to live our lives paranoia with our head on a swivel like John Belushi in Animal House doing one of these.
No,
what we do need to do is
you're going to go off in
awareness.
natural terrain. If you're going off in natural terrain, leaving the path, you're by yourself, you're still in audio exclusion, and I think that's a formula for problems.
She is asking for trouble, no question about it, and she needs to elevate her threat level.
You know, you were talking about her being kind of off the beaten path there, literally. More and more we're seeing this stuff happen everywhere, you know, in restaurants, out in the open, in parking lots. I think people need to be aware of their surroundings wherever they are. People are becoming victims.
I want to throw in something else here, too, that although I did not think that she was dressed provocatively, we do see, wait. We do see some female joggers who choose to dress slightly more provocative. I thought that she was a little on the conservative side, which was fine, which was a good idea. But I know that if you are a jogger and you are female, you know, I've seen some of the tank tops.
No, don't go there.
I think if you're going to dress that way, stay in the crowd. Stay with the pack.
Don't put a sign on your back and say, look, this is what I look like.
We saw the guy
You're suggesting that's going to make somebody attack her?
No, wait. Maybe I am, because if she runs, and Josh and I were talking about this off camera, if she runs the same path every Saturday morning or every afternoon at 3.
God only knows how long Joe Schmo here has been watching.
Yeah,
Joe Schmo has probably, Joe Schmo is a predator, let's assume that.
I haven't heard it in years.
Joe Schmo is a predator.
How long has he been watching her? How many times has she done the exact thing that she's doing?
He's probably got her time down.
Beings are creatures of habit. The woman has probably been doing the same thing for 2 weeks, a month, 2 years. Who knows?
And he knows.
We run an acronym at the facility, and it's ODDA, observe, detect, decide, and act. Because she's in condition level white, she didn't observe it, she didn't detect it, and she missed her first 2 steps, which would have allowed her to probably totally avoid this situation completely.
And predators, generally speaking, don't want to risk getting hurt themselves.
Okay, when we come back, we'll take another look at the reenactment, this time with a different outcome. This one by a well-trained, prepared woman jogger. Don't go away.
Quiet, lady. Don't get hurt. Otherwise, I'm gonna slit your throat. Take your clothes off. Okay, back away. You understand?
Where's my phone? 911. I was jogging in Oak Park and this guy just came out of nowhere and attacked me. It just happened so fast. I didn't see him. I shot him. No, with my own gun. No, I'm okay. I'll be fine. We just need someone out here fast. Please hurry. At least I was prepared, right? No, I'll stay on the phone with you guys till you get here. He's still not moving. He's not breathing. I can't believe this just happened.
Okay, let me just say this. I thought the outcome was pretty good. What do you think?
I thought the outcome was great. I think let's chalk one up for the good guys.
That's
first of all.
right.
All right, we like to see that outcome. But again, you heard me mention prior preparation, avoidance, and awareness techniques. At this time, in this scenario, she was prepared. She had a firearm with her, but having the firearm alone does not necessarily prepare you for what's going to happen. And I see Josh.
That's a fallacy that everybody talks themselves into believing. They run out to Cabela's or their local gun shop, wherever they may be. They purchase themselves an inventory of firearms, and then they believe when they enter into a life-threatening situation and that heart rate jumps up over 180 beats per minute, they can't hear anything, and the only thing they can see is right in front of their nose because they've got tunnel vision, that they're going to be able to access what we call finite motor skills, which is just
okay. So we're talking about training.
Yeah, the to overcome the physiological response.
What you meant was
the physiological response of what a gun is not enough.
Okay, right.
It never should have gotten to that point.
No.
If she had been aware of her surroundings, he never would have chosen her as a victim to begin with.
No.
That's the fact.
Okay, well, we have to kind of go on the theory that she did leave the trail. Right. She's already gotten to this point. Going back a little bit, he's probably stalked her in the past even.
Well,
and I think that
James,
came out.
She got lucky that he backed away.
We can illustrate to our audience, yes, ultimately this did end up as one for the good guys. Having said that, she could be no-billed in criminal court and sued in civil and lose because of the 911 call.
Well, no, we could go off in a bunch of different directions on the 911.
I don't know about that. Who are you going to call?
Well,
Ghostbusters?
I'll tell you what we tell our shooters. If they're involved in a shooting situation, we say, you make a 911 call, officer, I've just been involved in the most stressful encounter of my life, please send an ambulance. And when the ambulance shows up and the law enforcement shows up, take me to a hospital immediately. You don't make those comments because, yes, she's in the right, but she's just confessed.
She
confessed
comments.
It. She's the shooter. She said, yes, I was prepared.
But Josh, if you call have you ever called 911?
I have.
Okay, you call 911 in a shooting incident. Okay? It is a shooting incident. 911 is going to grill you for, what do you mean?
I'm sorry, I've just been involved in the most stressful encounter of my life. Please take me to a hospital until you don't have to say anything.
I know, but she's going to say, listen, just as soon as the officer's finished with lunch, you'll be out. Unless you give her a compelling reason,
well, there's
they're
a guy
not just
lying.
Come
There's a guy lying on the ground
lights
that
and
just attacked
sirens. When you call 911, you need to let 911 know what to. I was just attacked.
Absolutely.
By a man attempting to rape me. I defended myself by shooting him.
I was in fear.
You know what?
For
You're
my
going to get
life.
lust come out of your mouth.
Shot to stop the threat. I did not shoot to kill.
I thought, yeah.
And because otherwise the cops are going to go, okay, hey, I'll be there in a minute. Okay.
Well, I had a situation like that.
Reason.
I had a guy bang on my door at 3 a.m. in the morning, pounding on the door saying, if you let me in, I'm coming in to hurt you. Okay? And I called the police. 30 minutes, no police showed up.
Yeah.
I called my attorney. My attorney said, for God's sakes, whatever you do, don't engage the individual while he's outside the house. Wait till he comes in. Situation turned out where he did come into the house, forceful entry, broke in, and finally, after a scuffle, he was out. And the call that got the police to show up was, there's a man that just broke into my house. Yeah. I have a firearm.
Yeah.
Right.
If you guys don't show up, I'm going to use
And there's a
Deadly
number of
force shot the
examples.
victim.
that
And they
right
were there
here in
3
Texas.
minutes later.
Right.
So
I don't know if I've seen
Right.
too many horror movies or what, but I got to tell you, as soon as she put her gun away, when she didn't really know if he was
never
if he
should
was
take the
down and
gun
out.
off
I
the
mean,
man.
yeah, he had blood spreading all over, but
Yeah.
a
Well,
lot
we
of
have
these
to- there's
guys
a
that are
couple
hopped
things
up
to
on
keep in
drugs,
mind.
I thought to myself, God, I'd be sitting there with a gun on.
Yeah, well,
There's
I like
some
that.
things to keep in mind that we're watching a reenactment. What's going to happen is, like Josh alluded to before, is the body's natural physiological responses are going to overtake everything. She won't be thinking straight. She'll be working with tunnel vision. She'll be experiencing a massive adrenaline dump.
That's what
Fingers
the
won't
training.
work properly. Her
Training.
eyes won't see. She
Now, that's
won't
the training.
hear correct.
That's
You've
right.
got to
That's
condition
where-
the response to the threat.
That's-
When I
that's
initially
right.
made the comment that the firearm is, yes, she was prepared with the firearm. However, the firearm is not the magic talisman. It's
No.
not going to ward off evil.
It's a
So
tool.
we go back to what you said as many years ago, and that is at least the firearm can even the odds.
Yeah.
And in this particular case, we saw that it was successful in evening the odds. But the thing to do is avoid that to begin
Which
with.
it
if
could
at all
have been
possible.
avoided.
And we could have been avoided. We certainly
65% of
could
winning the battle occurs right here.
Right.
It's not in the use of the tools that you're given.
Those guys don't want to fight. Again,
No.
they want an easy target. They
No,
want
they
easy
don't wanna
prey.
fight.
Right. And something to keep in mind regarding the criminal. Criminals are a lot of things, but they are not stupid. They think, they plan, they act accordingly.
yeah.
This is what they do for a living. We refer to this individual. Do we know for a fact that he was, do we know he's watched her before?
Yeah.
More than likely he has.
Yeah.
He's watched that trail. They cased the joint. You've seen it in movies.
Yes.
And chances are this is not the first time the guy's seen
Right.
him do it.
And I agree with you on that. I also agree with you that after she shot the man, and even though there was a little dramatization of the blood, I don't
takes
think
her
she
eyes
should have
off of
taken
him
her
and yeah.
gun
Right.
off of him. And if she had, then she should have been backing away from
Yes.
him.
Right.
And when she felt safely far
Absolutely
enough
not.
away
Yeah.
from him,
that guy
she
was
could have
probably
made the
200 plus
911 call.
pounds. That's
Yeah.
small arms fire.
Yeah,
It's
there's
just
there's
not-
a number of
No,
There's no
things
way I'd
involved
take my
there.
eyes off
Right.
of him. I mean, there's
Now,
no way.
there is a little misconception. If you've been on the receiving end of a firearm where they've actually pointed something and shot at you,
Yeah.
you do not know what caliber it is. It could be a 50 caliber or a 22 caliber.
Or do you care?
But the first thing you're going to see is an explosion. You're going to feel pain, and it's going to slow you down. But all I wanted to point out to Josh was, even though you and I probably would not carry a small caliber, and I think we kind of alluded to that.
Not small caliber, small arms fire. 9mm, 40, 45, any of them.
Unless you
you
hit it in
never
the
put
aorta.
just one round in the abdomen and expect that to be a
Well, I think
stopping blow.
I think you're right. I think you're right, and I think there is a misconception out there
Not to
that
mention the
one
fact that a lot
shot.
of these criminals today,
The one
guys,
shot takes them
body
out,
armor
yeah.
is so accessible.
Right.
Anybody can get Class 3 level body armor. Anyone,
Right.
and a Class 3 level body armor will stop a large caliber rifle.
I
You know,
just
that's
I
why
can't imagine taking my eyes off of him
You
and
have to
putting
have
my weapon
follow-through.
away.
You have to have
The
follow-through.
key to this entire scenario is the avoidance portion. We want to
Yeah.
avoid
Right.
this
Absolutely.
encounter at all costs, and this woman could have avoided this encounter. On a number of instances that we
Absolutely.
saw on
You're
the
right.
tape.
I want to thank you guys for coming on the panel and being here today, sharing your insight and your experience. Before we go, I'd like to take a few minutes, however, and talk about each of your current projects. Okay? Susanna, tell us about your book. I can't wait to read it.
It's called From Lubies to the Legislature, One Woman's Fight Against Gun Control, and it's basically my story. It's autobiographical as my life relates to guns. It's designed for everybody who's into the Second Amendment, but I think I really designed it for your wives or your girlfriends or your neighbors that are maybe a little squishy about guns, that just aren't quite comfortable with the whole idea.
Okay. Josh, now I've read your script, and I've been up to the Texas Pistol and Rifle Academy. I love the facility. I endorse the facility. Shooters, if you have the opportunity, get a hold of those folks. They do a wonderful job out there. But I know about the script now. Come on. This is a great movie that you're working on.
yeah.
Give me some,
Yeah,
sure, why
sure.
did you do this?
The title of the project is called Will Gardner, and the inspiration for this project was the writer-director's name is Max Martini. And Max was on a show called The Unit for a number of years, and Max spent a lot of time overseas at the bases, touring, meeting some of the troops, signing autographs, and he was touched by some of the stories that these young kids really would come and tell them, 17, 18, 21, 22 years old, about the constant IEDs that were going off around them, the ringing they would experience. And then he saw the transition that these kids would have to make from going from a war zone back to civilian life. And Ed, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but currently 25% of our homeless population are vets. That needs to stop. Somebody needs to be there to help them. So the title of the project is Will Gardner, and I'm hoping that this project is going to bring awareness to the issue that we're experiencing with the homeless vets. Because a lot of these kids, man, it's not like they're looking for a handout. They're willing to go and do the work. They did it. They paid the ultimate price over there. They've come back. They're not looking for a handout. They're looking for somebody to help them get their bearings and reintegrate themselves into a 9-to-5 desk job. So we're hoping this project...
When are we going to see the movie?
Well, the movie's going to go into production, filming next April, and we hope to have a 2013 release. And so I think it's...
The script is very exciting. Now,
thank you.
Hey, what's going on with you? Now, something always going on with Mark Walters.
Something's always going on. Yeah, we're focusing hard on Armed American Radio right now. The show is the single fastest growing pro-firearms related national broadcast, syndicated broadcast in America. Very proud of that. That focus is 100% entirely on your right to carry a firearm for your personal protection and self-defense. And as you saw in one of the clips that we just aired, how important that is, that you learn and that you train. And that's what we focus on Armed American Radio as part of the United States Concealed Carry Association, the ultimate resource for the armed citizen. That's about where we're at, James.
Okay, well, again, I want to thank you all for being here. I thought it was a very valuable conversation we had. Shooters, if you have something going on in your city, your town, contact us. We'll try very hard to reenact a crime in your area. Thank you very much for tuning in to Stop the Threat, and I'll see you next time. Be safe, be trained, and be alert.